This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Grammarly Premium. Get a 1 month free trial of Grammarly Premium. Also, thank you to vidIQ and TubeBuddy for sponsoring today's show. If you want a free trial, just click on the links in the description. Also, thank you to Amazon Music Unlimited for sponsoring today's show. All you need to do is click on the link to my website to find out more. Welcome to the Stephen Shields radio show. I've got Linda Reed-Enever on the show. How are you, Linda?
Hi, Stephen. How are you? I'm doing well.
Good. And, I've become an entrepreneur myself, and I came across your Facebook page, Business to Business as well. You've been an entrepreneur. What's been your story, and how did you get involved?
I've been an entrepreneur for a while. The Facebook group that we run is called Business. We are a community for business owners that help you learn, connect, network, and do. It is one of the 5 offerings that we have here at Reed-Enever Group. Both Clive and I are marketing. I'm a marketing coach. Clive's a business coach. We teach course creation, and we do a number of things. So, yeah, I've been doing this for about 15 years now, teaching and working with others and doing those things. So part of our journey was creating a space for business owners to come and network, pick up a few skills along the way and support. So we run that community and that online magazine now as well.
Yeah, I've just finished my first year as an entrepreneur as well as a musician. It's very
Congratulations.
Very scary world out there, Linda.
Yeah, look, it is, but you know what? It's scary when you work for someone else too, Stephen. So this is no different. And if we approach business with the passion and the excitement that we come with, and we learn the skills along the way that we need to learn and understand that it's okay not to know everything, then the rest of the journey falls into place quite well for us. So we don't have to know everything. And that's what communities like business are all about. It's about coming in and asking for help and support and feeling, networked and connected along the way. Because the biggest thing I would say that in your, and I don't know, tell me in your first year when you've done it by yourself, is that not going to work and not having the conversations with others that get it. And your friends don't get it either, unless they're entrepreneurs themselves or unless they're a business owner themselves. They just don't get it. So it's nice to have that space where you can have a chat to someone who does.
Yeah, well, my first year, I've only made $20 as an entrepreneur. Now, I do the business part-time, so I'm only new to it. Yep. But, the money doesn't come in straight away, I've found. It takes a while.
And it takes commitment. So tell me a bit about your business. What are you doing? Let's see if we can come up with some ideas for you today then.
Yeah, sure. I write royalty-free music, so I'm a music composer. I'm doing podcasting as well. I'm looking at teaching clarinet, guitar, composition, music theory, all those things as well, orchestration. And that's where I see myself going.
Beautiful. Okay, so can we use you as a test bunny in this theory about what I do today then, and look at some ideas about how you can take things to market? Because my number one thing is ideas. So I help people with ideas, help them take those ideas and take them to market. So you just told me that you were doing royalty-free music production. So are we selling that across the royalty-free sites and getting that? Okay. That is a long burn, and it is a long burn process because people have got to discover the track, they've got to like the track, they've got to see how it goes. So I'd be looking at making sure for that component of networking with others and letting you know that you're out there. So networking maybe in course creation groups, letting people know that you might even possibly write a dedicated track for them if they were running their own podcast or their own networking. Now, you said you've got into the podcasting thing yourself, so you've most probably, being a music producer, got the equipment, got the tools to maybe do some podcast editing along the way. For others. So you could be putting some podcasts together and using that skill set to monetize. Well, it's not your ideal component of maybe what you want to do. It's not the music side of things. It's using the skills that you already have to monetize the passion projects until the passion projects start bringing in the absolute, great components of income for you. So I would be jumping onto places like Upwork, like Fiverr, no, maybe not Fiverr, Upwork, and looking at the podcasting editing jobs. We just hired a podcast editor in-house recently to help my podcast team here. So there's lots of people out there that have freelance roles, and it's short components, it's short, sharp stuff. Highlighting what you do. So in your production side of things, highlighting that I can do podcast editing, I can write your own intros for you, we can write custom music, we can help create jingles. So, even doing that jingle component, the good old jingle for business owners, that's another way that I could see that you can monetize your knowledge just from the start, just using the skill set you have.
Yeah.
Teaching on the other plane would be teaching online. So looking at teaching your clarinet and those courses using platforms. I'm a Thinkific approved expert, so I'm going to say that from the moment number one, but you can have a school up and running and your courses on pre-sale inside a day.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in that right space and you want to share your knowledge with people that way. So it's all some good ideas. So, okay, that's an idea session and a split out of about 100 ideas for you. What are you finding works for you so far?
The podcasting.
Podcasting?
Actually. Yeah.
Are you editing for others?
No, myself, but I've already got monetized, so I've just started.
Beautiful, well done.
About 4 months ago, so I've hit 600 downloads in 4 months. So people are listening.
Well done.
And but I think it'll all come over time, all the music and all that.
And it's all about adding up those layers of opportunity. And the biggest thing that I would say, Stephen, or to anyone else out there who's starting out, overnight successes have a lot of hard work behind them. There is lots of years, and even people say to me now with BBB, when I said it was our 7th year, I didn't realise you'd been around that long. I thought you'd only been around recently. So what they don't see is the hard work and all of those bits and pieces that go in behind the scenes to make that overnight success appear like an overnight success. But normally if you dig behind the story, you'll see that there's lots of work that's gone into it along the way.
Yeah, I don't know what keeps me going, Linda. Something just keeps me going with Shields Productions,
Well, I would be, in all honesty, I would be having a bit of a chat and a bit of look at yourself and going, what skills do I have that I can monetize? Okay, to continue the production. Because music production, royalty-free music, it's a longer burn process, but it doesn't mean that you don't have things in the meantime that you can be doing that will help cross-promote that service and help cross-promote the music and the stuff that you do.
Well, I wanted to talk about your journey as an entrepreneur and what made you decide to become an entrepreneur.
I most probably never was a really good employee.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
I like to know. Look, I was good at following systems. I was good at following rules, and I worked with some really good organisations. But pretty much from when I was 19, I joined a marketing company and an agency while I was studying to be a teacher. And I was offered, within 6 months, I was a manager. So I've sort of held managerial roles for most of my corporate type lifestyle from that early age. So, I like to be in control. I like to see how the projects ran. And I really did love to project management. So it was a thing of bringing across my teaching skill set and my marketing skill set when I found that thing through. So that's most probably what started it. So I did lots of consulting. So I did lots of consulting jobs, and pretty much since I was about 22, 23, I was on consulting contracts. So I would consult for other businesses while I would work inside the space with good brands. I would be consulting, and I would be on a consultant basis. So I sort of fell into it.
Wow.
But you've got to be self-motivated. You've got to be self-motivated and disciplined.
Do you believe all entrepreneurs can become millionaires?
If they want to. And that's the big thing. Not everyone in business wants to become a millionaire, and nor should you if it's not what you want to do. It's about creating a lifestyle. And why I love the word entrepreneur. It took me ages to sit well with it. I don't particularly, we do have multiple projects sitting here, but I just like to say I run a business and I run projects and I run those sorts of things. And just there's 2 words in the entrepreneur Bible or the space out there that, one annoyed me when we started BBB and still annoy me today, and that is hustle and grind. It makes it sound like there's a badge of honor to just work yourself into the ground, and then neither of those, I can tell you, are a good thing for you and your business long term. If you can strategically roll things out, if you can strategically look at small pieces of growth along the way, then you will add those things up and you will help that journey go along. But if you hustle and you grind, then you are going to go really well for a while, crash, really well for a while, crash. And eventually the crash gets so bad that you don't get back up. And that's not a positive thing for any business owner out there. So I think inside this space, what we're looking for is actually the ability to be able to grow in the way that we want to. And for some, that will be $1 million business or a 6-figure business or 6-figure launches. For others, that will be I'm living comfortably, I'm paying my rent, I'm paying my mortgage, my kids are going to the school that they want, I can get whatever I want whenever I want to get it, and that's happy. And why should we? A business success is not built in on $1 million revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it comes down to what profit we make and what lifestyle the business owner gets from that business, because you can make all the money in the world, no one writes that on your gravestone at the end of it.
Wow. No, because you see some entrepreneurs in the States, they're driving the fancy cars as well, even here too in Australia. And I think, how the hell do they afford all that?
Whereas I'd be like, oh man, the mechanics bill for that would be too much that I'd be prepared to pay. Look, you know what? You can drive all the fancy cars that you like. We've got 2 Porsche drivers here that live locally that have got them in this really, really bright yellow colour. And I'm going, if I was going to be driving a Porsche, the last colour I'm buying it is highlighted yellow. You know, it comes down to those sorts of things. So while the cars and that, if that's what validates their lives, absolutely live by it. But it doesn't make the business owner's success journey. And it doesn't mean they could be driving those cars, Stephen, too, on hire or on lease. And, they might have only 5% of the car paid for.
Oh, God.
That could be a concern as well. So, you've got to look at it from those points of view. I keep saying to people in business, there are 6-figure launches, but it's where that decimal point lands after all the expenses, after all the stuff that we've done that matters, not the money it brought in, but the money it actually makes.
Yeah, you've heard of Robert Kiyosaki, wrote
Yes.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Well, he was explaining that the boss pays less tax than an employee. He wrote the whole cash flow quadrant as well. Didn't explain it properly, but he was saying that you're better off being an entrepreneur than an employee as well.
There's different sides. There's different situations for that. Being an entrepreneur is one thing. Being an employee gives you a little bit of financial security and job security around those different areas as well. There is all different aspects to coming to it. But if you're an entrepreneur, you have to have the mindset. If you're a business owner, you have to have the mindset and you have to have the dedication and the drive to do the good and the bad times. And we only need to look back at COVID-19 last year when it hit. And I'm watching all the stuff roll out now that we did in last year. It would have been very easy for me and for Clive to say, oh, we've led this community for 6 years. It's okay. We're just going to let you die throughout this process. Okay. We could have done that. But our roles as leaders and those things within the community was we had to stand up. You can't just lead in the good times. And you can't just run a business in the good times. There are going to be bad times, just like they are in employment and those sorts of things. So we, jumped up and was messaging people at midnight our time in the US and the UK to get panelists to come and talk to our business owners, to talk to them about how to navigate their way through the change that COVID was bringing onto us and bringing onto the market. And that's the thing. When we become an entrepreneur, we just can't become it for the good time. Okay, we got to make sure that we're becoming it for the whole ride and understanding that there is a whole ride to it. It's always grass is on the greener when you're an employee and you think you can do it, better than your boss. And you're going to do it this way. And then all of a sudden you start to become the entrepreneur and you find out that there are different things in there and there's different elements in there and different ways that you can do things. And you've got to, manage the accounts and manage the marketing and manage the bookkeeping and manage the networking and, manage the delivery of the product and the service. You begin to start to work out whether you can do it all. And the one thing that I say to most business owners is once you start getting the business paying for itself slightly, look at what you can outsource. Look at what you doing, what you're good at, and then moving the other stuff on to the people who are better at it.
Exactly. I tried to do a bit of bookkeeping for practice. It's clearly not my thing, Linda.
It's definitely not my thing. That's what my accountant does.
But
my bookkeeper does.
Well, eventually, as I do grow, I will get an accountant. But I was finding when I was concentrating on the stuff I hate, it was throwing me off. I was putting too much pressure on myself. It's just, one day I'll get the accountant to do that.
Did you set the boundaries up? Okay. So one of the big things that we see business owners do is they try to do everything at once and they don't set mindset boundaries. And time blocking is a really cool thing when it comes to being an entrepreneur and actually setting up dedicated accounts time, dedicated admin time, dedicated podcast time, dedicated days that people can talk to you and can book into your diary. Because if you don't break those mindset chunks up, it gets really hard to stretch between both things. And then, you don't focus on anything.
I learnt a lot from that. You got to start somewhere. You know, that's the fun side.
Everyone starts somewhere on this journey.
But, I was listening to a book by Robert Kiyosaki on Audible. He was saying, don't give up your day job because, as the entrepreneur in the beginning, you don't get the steady paychecks like you do as the employee. That's from Robert Kiyosaki, not me.
I gave up my day job.
Yep.
I finished up when we went in full-time in 2009 when I came into this, but I'd used my day job, I'd used my consulting, I'd used my corporate career to give myself the foundations to come into business. Now, I know not all business owners get to do that. However, for me, it was make or break. I had a certain amount of dollars behind me and I needed to make it work over that period of time. And it was a good motivator to make things work over that period as well. So I gave up my day job and we launched our first one. Would I say to other business owners, don't? I would say look at where you sit. If you can manage, dropping to part-time and moving your weight things through and starting to build the business slowly, absolutely. But no one can tell you your own financial situations. That's something you need to sit down with an accountant, your partner, your husband, your wife, your kids, and just look at whether you can do it. Look at whether you've got the background to be able to do it. I planned to do what I did when my daughter was born, so I had the foundations behind me. Not everyone gets that luxury when it comes to business. Some get thrown into it. Some just go, right, that's it, this is what I'm going to do. And others get the opportunity to plan their way out. And if you can plan your way out, then use those foundations to do that, because business is all about planning. Everything in business is about planning. It's about planning your day. It's about planning your growth. It's about planning your marketing. It's about planning your bookkeeping. Everything in business comes down to planning. So if you can start before you even get into business by planning your way out of the workforce and into business, then that's a great way of doing things.
I kind of had no choice, Linda, because I never intended to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be an employee. And I'd go to job interviews and the boss I had 3 bosses tell me, why aren't you doing something with music? And I'd be stunned. What? I want to be an employee. And it was until the pandemic hit, I just thought, I'll try it.
Give it a shot. So what type of jobs were you going for then?
Sales as well.
Sales roles, yep.
Tried some warehousing jobs as well. Worked in kitchen hand. My first ever paid job was an apprentice chef, but didn't like it at all. Ugh.
So you've worked out things you don't like. Well, that's cool. Okay, so now you're in the entrepreneur boat. So it's now a case of making that work for you and making, just like a job, just like you would in a job, is making those components work and looking at the monetization and the best way that you can use your knowledge and skill set to grow all of that. And look, we've all been there at the start. Every business owner starts at the start worrying where the next bit of money is going to come from, worrying where the next component of, next client or next job is going to come from. It's about working through those times and really pushing yourself. As you said, something keeps you going, pushing yourself to find those next jobs and find those jobs that will pay and, help you get through. And I know when we first started in marketing, we started our marketing agency. I took on jobs that I don't love, but I knew they paid, and I knew they paid well, that allowed us to do the jobs and build the foundations that we do love.
Exactly. But, I talk to a lot of people who ran businesses up the road. I know one who, nearly lost the house twice, driving trucks, and tells about what's going on in the real world. So I learn a lot, Linda, from people who have the experience. But, I've got nothing to lose in my situation.
And you know what? That's sometimes the best way to do business is feed in first.
I mean, I don't
guide the project.
I don't have a mortgage or I don't have kids to look after,
So this is your year, hey?
It is. But
build the business issue.
It's like you get books by Napoleon Hill. Have you read like Think and Grow Rich or
I
any of
have
his
read Think and
stuff?
Grow Rich, and Clive coaches from it quite a lot, so he loves it here.
I think he
Yep.
more more supported the entrepreneurial mindset.
Yep. And look, you just got to go back to some of those stories with Henry Ford and all of those ones that are inside Think and Grow Rich and look at them and look at how the adversity was presented to them. They could have easily given up, but they continued to go. They thought better. They thought ahead. They thought of those things. And if you go back to and you think about, Henry Ford has an amazing quote that if I asked my people what they wanted, they would still be driving a horse and buggy.
Mm.
So there wouldn't be the entrepreneurs out there driving, really expensive cars and Porsches and all those sorts of things, because the people at that stage only wanted a horse and buggy. They didn't know that they wanted anything else. So he was thinking ahead. He was predicting what the people would need next.
Exactly. Yeah, it's you never know where I'll go. You never know. I always have dreams. I want to fly first class one day as well and travel the world. Do you set goals for yourself?
Absolutely. Goals are a big one here within the office because the goal is big. So the goal is, just for example, we've got a project that we plan to launch, business number 7 will launch later on this year. The goal is obviously to launch. That's the goal right now. But broken down, that big goal is great, but it's massively overwhelming if it sits over there. But broken down is finding the software that's going to deliver this project, how we want it to be. Then it's putting those pieces together. Then it's testing that project. Then it's testing the monetization elements of that project. Can we bring them in the way that we want them to be able to be brought in, and then can we roll it out? And then it's obviously beta testing of the site going live. All of those things will pop in along the way. But if we don't break them down into goals and we don't set them in goals, then we will not achieve them. It will just sit there in the corner. We developed the business life planner because lots of my clients wouldn't set goals. They would set goals, but they set massive goals and then they wouldn't break them down into bite-sized chunks. So goal setting is one thing, but breaking that goal down into bite-sizable chunks that you can look at. And if we go back to where I just spoke to you at the start and said, okay, well, these are different ways that you can monetize the knowledge to get to the point that your royalty-free income kicks into play. It's about breaking the goal down to making sure that the income and creating those layers of opportunity for you to get a win along the way to achieving those goals.
Exactly. I feel like you've heard of Tony Robbins, have you?
Yes.
I feel like sometimes he doesn't explain goals very properly, like me and you have spoken about.
The goals there are different ways that people will teach things, and not every expert, including myself, is going to suit everyone. Okay. So you all have your different approach, and that's why there are marketing coaches popping up every day of the week. There are business coaches popping up every day of the week because they all have a different approach and a different style. While Tony does lots of stuff surface level in some of his deeper programs, he goes quite deep into that goal setting and breaking those particular things down. But it comes down to he may not be the right mentor for you to listen to. He may not be the right person for you to talk to. And it's okay to realize that the guru that everyone else is talking to doesn't suit your style. And you want to have a look at another guru that maybe suits you, or another person. And they maybe don't have to be a guru. They might just be a coach or a mentor that you go, yep, cool, they get me, they know the path and they know the plan that I want to go on.
Exactly. I feel like he just focused on too much of the big business owners too. That's his target market. That's what I see, But I think he means well. He does. But
they all have their market.
Have you heard the saying, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
I disagree. You can come from wherever and make the life that you want to make. You can be, I've seen very many successful business owners be almost bankrupt when they've started. God. But it's the change that they make. It's the change that comes through that journey. I've seen people come from poor backgrounds and make really, really good decisions and make really, really strong businesses. And I've seen people come from really wealthy backgrounds and make really bad decisions and lose everything. So I don't think we are defined by whether we're technically poor or we're technically rich in any way, shape or form throughout that journey. It's what we do with the opportunities that are provided to us that will make the difference.
Exactly. And in the real world, the more you have, Tony Robbins quoted this, the more you have, the more likely you're going to get sued too. Because people want to go after assets and all that.
Not to think about business that way.
Quoting from Tony Robbins.
If you do the things like, so if you do what you do well and you do it from the place of, helping the community or helping your audience or helping your people, if you're going to worry about being sued, or the more you have worried about being sued, then that's what you're going to attract to yourself.
Exactly. That's what I don't worry about too, but that's some of his teachings as well. But yeah, I like listening to more Napoleon Hill on Audible.
Yep.
I just find he's better.
See, you're a different generation to me. I like the good old paper books. I like my tail away from the screen and away from the audio.
And Jim Ron as well is good to listen to.
Yeah.
I felt he really answered a lot of questions for me.
Fantastic. So what are your plans for this year?
This year, well, hopefully to start getting more followers on the social media, building that up. Getting more subscribers on YouTube as well. Talking to more people, more celebrities on the show. That's going well. And hopefully start teaching students. What about yourself?
This year we've we've launched the Course Creator Circle this year. So our process this year is to launch our final project for the year, which will be the knowledge search towards the end of 2021. And that'll be a fair amount of work. And we've got client work in the meantime and client brands and client stuff launching. So lots of stuff happening there. And then, to be ready for a break this year and a good 6-week break at the end of the year.
No, that'll be good. I always support your work and what you're doing as well.
Good. Thank you. We like seeing our regular faces pop up inside the BBB community.
Thank you for coming on today's show. Where can people find you on your social media?
If you type Linda Reed-Enever into Google, you will pretty much find me on most of the social platforms. I think I've done my job pretty well in being able to be found inside that space. And if you want to join the business group, head to facebook.com/groups/business, and you'll find us there.
Awesome. Always looking forward to what you're doing.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Thanks for having me, Stephen.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the podcast, and thank you to the sponsors for sponsoring today's show. Also, new podcasts are out every Friday, so don't forget to turn on your notifications in your podcast feed. Also, you can send a donation to my GoFundMe page. This helps with supporting the podcast and maintaining it. Cheers and bye for now.